Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank members for their questions and suggestions. The PMTO has laid out MHA's three-pronged approach comprising robust laws, effective enforcement, and strong community partnerships in the way we approach safety and security in Singapore. I will elaborate on how these elements come together in our efforts to ensure safe neighbourhoods and also safety on our roads. Mr. Chairman, our neighbourhoods continue to be safe. In 2012, the overall crime rate fell to 581 crimes per 100,000 of population. And that is a decrease of 4% from 2011, and that is the lowest crime rate in almost 30 years. MHA and the Singapore Police Force are committed to sustaining this improvement and preserving safety and security in Singapore. The community policing system is a key pillar of police's efforts to keep our crime rates low and our neighbourhoods safe. Mr. Edwin Tong and Mr. Arthur Fong have sought an assessment of the progress of the COPS model. We launched COPS at the Bukit Merah East and Tampines Neighbourhood Police Centres last May. A further 6 NPCs adopted the COPS model in January this year. It's too early to attribute specific crime trends to the implementation of this new model, but the results and feedback to date have been encouraging. There have been notable successes, for example, in targeting local crime. The Bukit Merah East Crime Strike Force was able to, with the combination of ground intelligence, local knowledge, and CCTV footage, able to identify a suspect as a known neighbourhood character in the context of a local crime, and was then able to swiftly locate and arrest that person. In terms of community engagement, the community policing units are also making good progress in reaching out to the communities whom they serve. The residents have welcomed the implementation of COPS, which they say has deepened their engagement with the community policing officers in their neighbourhoods, and it has enhanced their sense of safety. We will build on these initial achievements by implementing COPS in the Ang Mo Kio South, Bedok North, Jurong East, Jurong West, Nanyang, and Rochor NPCs in June this year, and in a further 6 NPCs by the end of this year. By the end of 2013, more than half of our 35 NPCs would have adopted the COPS model, and we are on schedule for all NPCs to make this transition by the end of 2015. Mr. Edwin Tong has inquired the progress of police camera installation. This is an example of how the home team agencies are leveraging on technology as a force multiplier. Last year, police cameras were installed in 350 HDB blocks, and their coverage will be extended to another 650 HDB blocks across all town councils by the end of this year. Police cameras will be rolled out to all 10,000 HDB blocks and multi-story car parks by the end of 2016. Mr. Patrick Tay asked whether our cameras can help combat problems such as unlicensed moneylending, harassment, littering, and the disamenities caused by foreign worker congregations. Sir, our police cameras are deployed primarily to deter and solve crime, including cases of loan shark harassment. The police is prepared to share the footage from its cameras in aid of the work of other agencies such as the LTA or NEA if it is needed to support their investigation and enforcement efforts. Overall, I would say that our community policing system has made a promising start. As we persevere with its full implementation and learn from our experiences, we hope that all members of the community will continue to actively partner and support the police in this important effort to keep our neighbourhoods and our communities safe. So let me now turn to the issue of unlicensed money lending, a concern which has been raised by several members and shared by all of us. We continue to make headway in our enforcement efforts against loan shark syndicates and their runners. The number of reports of unlicensed money lending and related harassment cases fell by 19%, or 2,507 to 10,835 cases in 2012. This is the third consecutive year of significant decreases. These gains are a result of our robust laws, effective enforcement, and education efforts. The police remain resolute in tackling this heinous crime, and in particular, the police have launched an anti-unlicensed money lending campaign from an education perspective last November. This nationwide campaign aims to raise public awareness of the serious consequences of borrowing from loan sharks for the borrowers and their families. It also highlights the severe penalties in our laws for those involved in loan shark activities. Our hope is that these efforts will help to further curb borrowing from loan sharks and deter debtors and our youth from working for loan shark syndicates. I'm glad to inform members that the number of youths arrested for unlicensed money lending and related activities has decreased from 2011 by more than half to 160 arrests in 2012. So there has been a significant decrease, although this continues to be an area of focus for the police as well. However, as Mr. Christopher D'Souza has pointed out, we can sustain this momentum only with the partnership of the community, and we need neighbors to stay vigilant and help to keep an eye out for one another. Such community support and cooperation are key complements to the police's enforcement and education initiatives. We need a collaborative effort with the community and police working in partnership to keep our neighborhoods safe from the scourge of loan shark activities. Associate Professor Fatima Latif and Mr. Chris D'Souza have asked about vice. In 2012, less than 1% of the 5,300 odd arrests of female foreigners for vice-related activities were made in the heartlands. Hence, I would like to assure Mr. D'Souza that such activities are not prevalent in the heartlands, and of course, the community policing system will address these sorts of crimes at the local level in addition to the other types of crime we've talked about. In specific neighborhoods where residents have identified vice as a concern, the police will continue to dedicate resources to deter and curtail such activities. In that regard, as Associate Professor Fatima Latif would be aware, the police have formed a task force to conduct regular enforcement operations against vice-related activities in Geylang. The police assessment is that this has yielded positive results. However, the police will continue with these enforcement efforts on the ground, reviewing and adapting its strategies in response to feedback from the community and grassroots leaders. And the police has also been working closely and appreciates the support from the grassroots organizations and the advisors involved in these precincts. Ms. Silverlin has asked about how the police selects its policing models and asked whether it adopts an evidence-based approach in discerning which strategies to adopt. So, to first emphasize, fundamentally, our strategy in fighting crime rests on robust laws, effective enforcement, and deep community partnerships. These elements are at the core of any policing initiative on the ground. The member has highlighted examples of models like hotspot policing and problem-oriented policing. Hotspot policing, an example of that is what we are doing, for example, in a place like Geylang. Problem-oriented policing is an example of what we are doing with unlicensed money lending. So the police have been eclectic, have adapted different models, studied them from different parts of the world, and then brought them to bear in our local context. In doing so, the police also pilot the concepts and then continue to review and refine them. So for example, community policing, we've had it in Singapore for 30 years. In that time, crime rates have decreased by more than 50%. But the police objective in introducing a new model of frontline policing is really to see if we can refine this model further to enhance the efficacy on the ground, especially given some of the demographic trends. So they conducted study trips internationally, China, Hong Kong, London, Sweden, Taiwan, etc. They then tried out a series of pilots over a period of 6 to 12 months, and then these were then refined, tried across all land divisions before a final model was embarked upon. So the answer is yes, we do have a very robust evidence-based system. I also want to say, though, that in learning from other countries, we must bear in mind that our context is different, and even the experience in other countries can be quite diverse. If you take, for example, cameras, what has been shown is that there's mixed evidence from the US. In cities like Chicago and downtown Baltimore, cameras have yielded positive results, but it's not been the same. There's been little impact in Washington, D.C. So we have to decide and exercise judgment in what works best in our context, and be prepared to continually evaluate the evidence and the empirical data and see how we move forward. That is a system that has worked well for us, and I think it's borne out by the fact that our crime rate remains low, notwithstanding the big significant changes we've seen in our society. Let me now address other community-based issues raised by some members. Many of the community dispute type issues highlighted by Mr. Hari Kumar, Mr. Edwin Tong, and Dr. Janil Putticherry are not criminal offences per se, as they themselves have said. I appreciate that antisocial behavior and inconsiderate conduct can be quite disruptive to the peace and also can cause anxiety, stress, and even adversely affect residents' sense of safety and security. So residents naturally often look to the police as it is in order to address these community disputes. So it is essential that our police resources are focused first and foremost on fighting crime. I think we would all agree on that, because that is where the real purpose of policing is. Having said that, the core mission is this, and the police will continue to act against such criminal offences robustly and resolutely. However, a large majority of these community dispute cases which don't involve breaches of law and order do find their way to the police. So in such cases, and where the parties are willing, our officers will generally assist to follow the details of the case and refer the parties involved for mediation at the Community Mediation Centre. And the members have expressed some concern that this is not complete and whether more can be done. So I want to inform members that there is also an interagency effort underway to study how community disputes can be better addressed. This study covers aspects such as forging a common understanding of what constitutes an acceptable social norms of behavior, enhancing our mediation processes, and introducing enforcement measures as well as calibrated penalties if necessary for those who persist in their antisocial behavior. This is a work in progress, and the government will announce its plans in due course. And we would, of course, be very happy to welcome ideas and suggestions from members as well in this regard. However, as Mr. Harikumar has said, and I want to reinforce this point, it is not just a matter of mediation, enforcement, and penalties. We need to foster a culture of mutual respect and consideration and build a consensus on what constitutes acceptable behavior in our communities. This is not the role of government alone. I hope that our community leaders, residents, and members of this House will continue to play their part in supporting and encouraging a spirit of give and take, and also exercise forbearance in dealing with such community disputes, which are an inevitable part of community life. Similarly, we need an approach of this nature in dealing with the disamenities posed by foreign worker congregations that Ms. Denise Paul and Mr. Patrick Tay have spoken about. The members would be aware, and I wanted to emphasize that there is already an interagency effort underway to address this issue. The government agencies have worked with the community to put in place a range of measures to address this issue. These include providing dedicated social and recreational amenities for foreign workers, both within and near their dorms, and educating foreign workers on Singapore's laws and social norms. Uniformed auxiliary police officers and security officers are deployed in locations with high concentrations of foreign workers to help deter crime and conduct enforcement against antisocial behavior such as littering. MHA is also working with other government agencies to study Ms. Pa's suggestion to impose further restrictions on the sale of alcohol in residential estates and the consumption of alcohol in public. We are learning from the experience of other countries to see how these can be adapted and implemented in according to our circumstances. And this is, again, a work in progress, and we hope to be able to make some announcements in due course. Members of the local community also play a very important role in this effort, and many have stepped forward to form citizens on patrol groups. Some groups even work together with the foreign worker volunteers to patrol foreign worker congregations in order to deter crime and antisocial behavior. And we welcome these initiatives because it's part of the collective enterprise we need to deal with this. Sir, let me move on to the road safety, which is another key area of focus, and many members have spoken on this. Over the years, the situation in our network of roads has grown complex with more and diverse users. Notwithstanding this, our road safety has generally improved. For example, the number of fatalities on our roads fell by 13% to 169 in 2012, and the number of injuries fell by 687 or 7% to 9,073. Our road fatality rate has decreased by more than 50% over the last 2 decades and compares favorably with other countries. But this is still a cause for concern, for it means that on average, there is a fatality on our roads every other day. There is also a worrying trend of worsening road habits and behavior, a point which Mr. Christopher D'Souza alluded to. There are a growing number of violations for dangerous offences such as speeding and red running. The charts there illustrate the trend. Members of the public are also concerned about such behavior and the impact it has on road safety, as evident from the frequent public feedback that we receive. To arrest this trend, Traffic Police initiated a holistic review of its traffic policing strategy in August last year. This has culminated in a comprehensive plan and strategy involving Traffic Police, its partners, and the community of road users to keep our roads safe. The plan is called Safer Roads Singapore, and there are three key thrusts to this strategy: education, engagement, and enforcement. Each of these is important and mutually reinforcing in shaping behavioral norms and engendering a culture of safe and courteous road use. The ultimate goal is to ensure that our roads are safe for all of us. So let me start with education and our licensing initiatives to equip road users with essential road safety knowledge. The Traffic Police has particularly emphasized road safety education for children, given their inexperience as road users and their vulnerability on the roads. In 2012, TP and the driving centers conducted road safety talks to over 35,000 primary school students and also conducted road safety training for over 28,000 primary school students at the Road Safety Community Park. And Traffic Police will continue to work with our education institutions to extend this effort to more children, especially the younger ones in preschool and lower primary. That, by the way, is the mascot, and it's a self-evidently named Mr. Zebra. We will also increase our educational efforts for other vulnerable road users. For example, road safety for elderly pedestrians is one of the key areas of focus for the inaugural Road Safety Month that the Singapore Road Safety Council and TP are jointly organizing in May this year. As Mr. Tong pointed out, motorcyclists are yet another group that we are concerned about. They account for about half of all road fatalities. We will thus enhance our licensing regime for motorcyclists to ensure that they have the requisite knowledge and skills to ride safely. Specifically, from June this year, all motorcycle Class 2B learner riders will have to undergo the expressway familiarization ride course before they obtain their license. This course, which was optional and offered since December 2010, allows motorcyclists to familiarize themselves with riding on expressways. Riders who have taken the course over the past 2 years were found to be significantly less prone to be involved in accidents on expressways. By making the course compulsory, we hope to reduce the number of accidents involving motorcyclists on our expressways. Mr. Gantiampo has asked whether Traffic Police will consider requiring all speeding offenders to undergo compulsory education earlier, immediately after their first offense. We agree that corrective education is useful for all motorists, not just for those who are speeding offenders. So Traffic Police will introduce a new voluntary safe driving course for motorists who have accumulated half or more of their maximum allowable demerit points. This will allow for earlier intervention to correct dangerous road habits. To encourage motorists to take this course, those who pass the course will have 3 demerit points deducted from their record. So there should be ample incentive and motivation. Traffic Police will also revise the retraining course for motorists facing their first or second suspensions to include a more comprehensive curriculum and more stringent passing standards. These enhancements to our corrective education regime will be implemented by the end of this year. The second thrust is engagement. Traffic Police will be able to multiply its outreach and education efforts by engaging industry stakeholders such as owners of heavy vehicle fleets and interest groups such as motorcycling enthusiast clubs. Such engagements help to foster a shared sense of responsibility within the community of road users for the safety of our roads. So I'm heartened by the initiatives that several companies have already taken to promote a culture of safety amongst their drivers. Let me give you an example. Po Tiong Tung Logistics Limited, one of Singapore's largest homegrown logistics companies, has a range of road safety management practices. They conduct road safety talks and defensive driving courses for their drivers and have instituted compulsory breaks for their night shift drivers. The company also has a GPS system to monitor the speed of its vehicles. And drivers who are caught speeding are counseled and may even face disciplinary action. On the flip side, those who have a good track record and stay accident-free are rewarded through bonuses in the year-end evaluation. Sam Waste Private Limited, an integrated solid waste management service provider, also provides incentives for its drivers to drive safely. They give awards and vouchers to drivers who have been accident-free, and their driving record is again a consideration when they do the year-end evaluations. We will do more to encourage and promote such positive practices. Many stakeholders, unions, fleet owners, and the like, have expressed support for a collective effort to ensure greater safety on our roads. And the Traffic Police is working with the Road Safety Council, Singapore Road Safety Council, to develop a common platform so that stakeholders can share amongst themselves best practices when it comes to road safety. And we hope more companies will be encouraged to shape the driving habits of their drivers constructively. The Traffic Police will also expand its Road Safety Champions program to the wider motoring community, and through this it will identify and train supervisors and managers as road safety champions. And these champions in turn will promote road safety and gracious road behavior among their co-workers. Finally, as several members have suggested, we will step up enforcement efforts under Safer Roads Singapore. The aim is to encourage road users in general to be more careful and courteous while firmly dealing with the small proportion of reckless and recalcitrant drivers. To this end, Traffic Police will augment its enforcement capabilities by deploying 70 more officers on the road. In addition, TP will complement this force strength by employing auxiliary police officers, so there will be a greater presence on the roads. We will also leverage on technology to boost our enforcement efforts. Dr. Puthucheary raised concerns over red running and speeding offences. Traffic Police will progressively install digital red light and digital speed cameras. By the end of 2014, there will be a network of almost 300 such cameras at various locations. The new cameras have enhanced capabilities to better identify vehicles that speed or run red lights. And Traffic Police will also be able to download the images remotely, which means the cameras can remain live 24/7. While these digital cameras and other measures will significantly enhance our ability to detect speeding and red running, our principal objective is to enhance road safety and to encourage motorists to adhere to traffic rules at all times, regardless of whether there are cameras or traffic police officers present. Ultimately, all road users must take personal responsibility for this, as it is in our collective interest to ensure our own safety and the safety of all other road users. So we look forward to the cooperation of all road users and the community of road users in this regard. Sir, allow me to also elaborate on our approach towards heavy vehicles. Heavy vehicles can cause severe harm in accidents due to their size. Hence, we have stepped up efforts to engage the heavy vehicle industry and educate their drivers. We already have a stricter enforcement regime for heavy vehicles. The drivers of heavy vehicles face stiffer fines for compoundable traffic offences. Traffic Police has also stepped up enforcement efforts against speeding by heavy vehicles in recent years. For example, police speed laser cameras are frequently deployed along expressways and roads, which are regularly plied by heavy vehicle drivers. Currently, heavy vehicles above a certain weight class are required to install speed limiters. We are working with LTA to tighten the existing speed limiter regime by introducing additional inspection requirements for heavy vehicles that are caught speeding. So I agree with Mr. Vikram Nair that it is heartbreaking when children in particular are involved in traffic accidents. So apart from our education efforts, we also want to step up on enforcement to ensure that extra care is taken, especially near our schools. Motorists will receive an additional demerit point if they commit speeding, red running, careless driving, or inconsiderate driving offences within enhanced school zones. Let me illustrate the impact of this change. What it means is that this additional demerit point will cause a new driver who is on probation to have his license revoked if he is caught committing the offence of red running in an enhanced school zone. So it will have a material impact on a driver's eligibility to drive if he commits such an offence. Let me also assure Mr. Christopher D'Souza that Traffic Police does and will continue to take enforcement action against cyclists who flout traffic rules on our roads. Traffic Police issues almost 900 summonses annually to cyclists for various offences committed on our roads, including those highlighted by the member. These enforcement steps and the educational initiatives that I have mentioned earlier are part of a broader effort undertaken by a committee led by the Ministry of Transport to enhance the safety of cyclists and pedestrians. MOT will elaborate more at its Committee of Supply debate. So taken as a whole, Safer Roads Singapore is a comprehensive strategy to improve road safety by enhancing the norms of road use. Traffic police will be firm and fair in enforcing traffic rules. We will also intensify our upstream education and engagement efforts to inculcate the right mindset, habits and skills for safer road use. So it's important that we take a decisive step to minimize injuries and lives and the loss of lives on our roads. In Traffic Police's dialogues with representatives from the industry and vocational driver groups, there is a general consensus that more can be done collectively to enhance road safety for everyone. Every life matters, so I urge all parties to work together to make our roads safer. So let me sum up by finally commenting on Mr. Christopher D'Souza's question on waiting time for casino exclusion orders against vulnerable persons. The National Council on Problem Gambling administers such casino exclusions. The Council convenes family exclusion hearings within 2 weeks from the point of application to determine the need for a family exclusion order. Applications for self-exclusions made online take effect immediately. The recent amendments to the Casino Control Act empower the NCPG's Committee of Assessors to also issue a provisional family exclusion order in the interim period if there is an urgent need to protect vulnerable family members from further harm due to casino gambling. So, to conclude, I've laid out some of the Home Team's key initiatives to ensure safety of our neighbourhoods and the safety of our roads. Home Team will continue to enhance our operational capabilities, stay resolute in enforcement, and leverage on technology for greater effectiveness. At the same time, we will continue to need the support of each and every member of the community to maintain a safe and secure home for all of us.